Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 13, Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness. Text number 27 and 28. Text 27. Yava sanjayate kinchit sattvam stavara jangamam Chitra chittagya samyogat tad vidhi paratara sabha samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyadisu vinashyatam Japashati Sapashati. By your divine grace, Slesi Bhakti Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Hare Krishna. This morning we are hearing from His Grace Keshadan Prabhu explaining nothing can produce something. Zero cannot produce one. So everything which is produced has a producer. Therefore, this material world is created, and there is the Creator, the Supreme Lord. So the material nature created by Krishna and the living entity is the part and parcel of Krishna. These two energies combined, they make this material world. So Krishna is saying, everything in this world, everything, nothing separate, everything, the moving and the non-moving, are all Krishna's energy. They are produced by Lord Krishna, not by zero, not by something, nothing. Everything has a source. So this material world has a source. Here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the material nature and the living entity we have been since time immemorial connected. We have been united since time immemorial. Right from the beginning of the creation, this has been there. The Prabhupada mentioned here both material nature and the living entity which were existing before the creation of the cosmos. Before the material world come to exist, the ingredient in which make this world have been in existence, Krishna has already manifested them. They have been existing with him. Sometimes they become manifest and sometimes they are not manifest. Just like very soon we will not see the sun. For here, because we are not seeing the sun here does not mean the sun is not existing somewhere. We are so limited that we cannot see everything all the time. Therefore, the material world is manifested and sometimes not manifested. Either manifested or not manifested, they have been existing. It is just that Krishna is making them happen sometimes. And when he likes, he removes them. Creation and destructions, these are Krishna's activities eternally. It goes on eternally. So when the material world is manifested, we can see. And when it is dissolved, you cannot see. In some places, they are existing. That is how the material world goes on. This is how the material world functions. Creation and destruction goes on. But the living entity who is making all the created things wonderful is not part of the material world. Therefore, the living entity is superior to whatever is created in this world. This microphone has no use if a living entity is not speaking into it. Has no value. It may be very, very important. The importance of it is that a living entity is using it. The same with everything else which is created in this material world. This house is useful because a living entity is using it. It's inside. We may have a very big, mighty aircraft. As big as it is, the pilot is not as big as a mighty airplane. They're very small. But it has no value until the living entity enters into it. You can make it manifest. The same with our material body. This body will not function until the soul enters inside. So, it is not correct. It is not correct. It is not correct, and it cannot be correct to think that this material body is functioning without the soul. The material body cannot function without the soul. The soul makes everything active and useful and valuable. And as soon as the soul leaves the body, whatever it is, how important it is, has no value. It is useless. So Srila Prabhupada was very, very surprised when he was speaking with one professor from Moscow, Professor Kotovsky. And he clearly expressed himself, Swamiji. There's nothing like the soul. If the body dies, it's died. It's dead. It's finished. Everything is finished. And I was surprised to hear such a big scholar, big position, so many years he spends in speculation without knowing the reality. This is just a common sense. Of course, common sense is not common, so many people don't have common sense. If this body is existing without the soul, what is making the body to grow? And what is making the body to stop functioning? They don't have intelligence to understand this. Only when the soul enters into the body becomes useful, and the body will start to grow. And as soon as the soul leaves this body, nothing else has any meaning. All the material element which is the component of this body will start to disintegrate. It's finished. So Krishna is explaining here. Tetra, this body, tetragya, the knower of this body, they have been in relationship since time immemorial. And the whole existence, everything in this material is a combination of those two things. This material energy and a living entity. There is nothing else. Only the two things. An intelligent person will know this. And then in text 28, Krishna continued to explain the individual existence of these energies. Text 28 is a continuation from 27. I think that is why it is selected. The two verses are selected. 28 is a continuation from 27. Here, Krishna in 27, Krishna is explaining the two energies. In 28, Krishna explains their individual existence. Although they are together from time immemorial, they are individual and they will remain individually eternally. There is no time they are going to become one. There is no time. And there is no time they are going to become zero. They will always exist. So in text 28, Krishna explains, one who sees a super soul accompany the individual soul, individual soul. Krishna did not say, one who sees the super soul accompanying the soul. He said, one who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies. Here we have three things. We have the material energy, we have the living entity, and we have the supreme personality of Godhead. And he concluded, one who knows that the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, is never destroyed. That is knowledge. This is knowledge. One who sees the super soul accompany the individual soul in all bodies, not some bodies, all bodies. What makes anybody to exist is because the soul is there, and the soul is never alone. The soul is accompanied by the super soul. Krishna is always with the living entities. There is no time Krishna leaves the living entities alone. We are never alone, and no one is alone. We always have the companion, the supreme friend who cares for us, who is after our welfare, and who is constantly speaking to us our own welfare. But because of our conditioning nature, we never hear the super soul. The fact that we are not hearing the super soul does not mean the super soul does not exist or the soul does not exist. The super soul is constantly accompanying the individual soul. And why is it accompanying the individual soul? To constantly remind us about the real thing which you have forgotten. Our Krishna conscious nature, our eternal nature, our eternal existence, and our eternal relationship with Krishna. So he said, and who understand that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructive body is ever destroyed. He is the actual seer. He is the actual knower. So Prabhupada was surprised to hear a professor saying that everything is dead. When the body is dead, the soul is also dead. How? If the soul is dead and the body is dead, what has been keeping them together? What is keeping the body existing until when it is dead? It's because the soul is there. Because the super soul is there. Wherever there is a soul, the super soul is also there. They are always together. This is Krishna's supreme nature, that he cares for us. We try constantly to forget Lord Krishna. But Krishna also try always not to forget us, not to leave us. So he's constantly with us. That is his nature. The nature of a father. So one who actually sees, the one who knows the super soul, one who knows the individual soul, and he also knows this material world. This is called knowledge. Knowledge does not mean we have information about some things. We have information about cooking. We have information about how to mix ingredients together. We know how to manipulate material energy. This is not knowledge, this is ignorance. Knowledge means that we know who is the super soul, who is the individual soul, and this material world, this material nature. One who knows this is intelligent and is the seer of everything. He is the knower of everything and the seer of everything. Anyone who by a good association can see three things combined together, by good association. Anyone who by good association can see three things combined together. Good association means to associate with a sadhu. One who associates with a sadhu. The sadhu's business is to operate the cataract in our eyes. Remove the cataract. And what will he use? He will use a honey. Honey is very good for curing the eye. For the treatment of eye, honey is very good. The sadhu is not just using the honey which treats the eyes. The sadhu, he uses the honey which will not treat just the eye, will treat also the heart. He operates the heart. So his honey is different from the ordinary honey we have here, we get from the bee here. He will reveal to us, the Prabhupada said, by good association. Good association. Association. When association is good, how do we know association is good? Association is good when our ignorance is destroyed by the association which we keep. So Prabhupada said, that association will make us to see three things. The body, Tetra. The proprietor of the body, there are two. Individual soul and the friend of the individual soul. So the knower of this body, there are two. The individual knower and the supreme knower. Both of them are the knowers. And what is the difference? That is the whole concern of chapter 13, to explain this material nature as a heading. Nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. This material body, the living entity, the individual soul knows what is happening in the body. Even that is not complete. How we know our material body is not complete. Even the doctor who has been studying the body, when a sick person comes to the doctor, what's the first thing the doctor will ask you? What is happening to you? You are sick. You are sick. You have come to a person to heal. You say, what is happening to you? I have a headache. And then what have you taken? I'm not taking anything. Okay. He's a doctor. He should know. If he's a real doctor, he should know. But because we are limited, we don't even know all the things that goes on in our body. We know to some extent. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead knows all the bodies. Not only in this tiny material world, not in this tiny, in all the planetary system, all the universes. He knows everything. That is God. He knows everything. Even here in the material world, if someone tells us something which we don't know, he's a great person. He's a powerful visionary. He can see. What about a supreme person who sees not just one tiny entity? He sees all living entities. All living entities in this world. Krishna sees everything, individual, everything. Even before we think of something, Krishna knows it. And before we do something, Krishna knows it. And after doing it, Krishna knows it. In all bodies, in all planetary systems, in all universes, to the spiritual world, Krishna knows all. This is Krishna's position. This knowledge can be gained by good association. Association with the sadhu. Unless one has an association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. We will remain like the Professor Kotowski, who does not know anything, what is happening to this body, he does not know what is the soul. He does not know who he himself is. And he's teaching, getting big salary, big name, and big position. This is cheating. Speaking something we don't know is cheating. The whole world is going on in this way. The cheaters and the cheated. So Prabhupada always used the word fools and rascals. We are fools and rascals because we don't know anything, but we are speaking as if we know. And we are authority. Rascaldom. So Krishna told us in Bhagavad Gita, if you don't know, keep quiet. Don't distribute ignorance. We should distribute knowledge, but not ignorance. But everywhere in the world, people are distributing ignorance. And we're getting certificate for cheating people. We're getting certificate. We get award for cheating people. Therefore, a sadhu's business, the Prabhupada, he came to come and operate our eyes and give us the truth, the reality, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is possible only by good association with the devotee. That's like Prabhupada. He did it. One person, he did it. Washing the brain of the whole world. In a very short time. Very short time. He did it. He's a good physician. So, the greatest doctor in the whole world is the Prabhupada. He knows the disease of all the living entities, and he knows the medicine. So he diagnosed our problem, and he gave the medicine, the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada gave it to us, Bhagavad Gita. And here Krishna told us, one who has this knowledge knows everything. There is nothing left to be known. If you know the science about Bhagavad Gita, you have known everything. And one who knows everything will act properly, will never again fall in ignorance. One who knows, one who has the fortune of meeting a sadhu, I have been operated, diagnosed, and treated. Krishna promise, we will never fall into illusion again. We will see differently. Just like when we have eye, we'll see. If we don't have eye, we will not see. But when our eyes have been treated, we will see things which we were not seeing before. So when one have the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, our intelligence, our knowledge, and ability to see things will be different. Our activity also will be different. This is knowledge, not theory, in reality. Those who do not have such such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, Kotowski philosophy, everything is finished. Nothing remains. But actually, it is not so. After the destruction of the body, soul, and the super soul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. Eternally, individually. Our existence continues. Even at the stage of perfection, we are individual. Right? From experience, when we cook, water is liquid, oil is liquid. But when we cook, they will do their activities differently. The oil has its function and the water has its function. Both of them remain separate. They don't mix. Both of them although they are liquid, they remain separate, individually. What about, that is material, what about the soul? If the material can still exist separately, what about the soul? So there's no doubt that the soul is individual, eternally. And the super soul is individual, eternally. The Sanskrit word Parameshwara is sometimes translated as the individual soul, because the soul is a master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, it transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parameshwara to be the super soul. In either case, both the super soul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what is happening. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Comments or questions? 5 minutes. Yes, Prabhu. I'm expecting your question, so I'm ready for you. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, you were giving the example of the sun. The sun is there now, we can see, later on then we cannot see. That doesn't mean the sun doesn't exist. The sun is always there. So similar ways, so many things we cannot see, but they are always there. Now the soul and super soul is in our body. We cannot see, but we can feel that super soul is guiding us. The feeling of super soul, we can understand the association of sadhus and devotees. So when we associate with devotees, they guide us about the soul and super soul. But one who is not associating with the devotees, and they don't care whether soul is there or super soul is there, can you explain something?
Yes. If we associate with the sadhu, they will guide us, as we mentioned before. They will operate the eyes, so we can be able to see. So you can experience, yes, the super soul is there. And also I'm there. We're good friends. Because the super soul is guiding, is directing, giving some direction. So we know, yes, I have a friend who is guiding me. But for those who are so unfortunate, they don't have this association. The super soul is speaking, guiding, directing, but because you don't have this fortune, you don't see. What will happen? Suffering will continue. That's how this material world is going on. Our rebellious nature is keeping the material world. until the living entity suffer. Suffering is very necessary. Suffering is very necessary. It's very, very necessary. That is why it's punishment. Until we suffer, we will not get purification. Suffering is required. When we suffer for a long time, we will come to the point of crying, why am I suffering like this? Yes, that's our fortune. So those of us who don't have the fortune of association with sadhus, what remains for us is only suffering. There's nothing. It's only suffering. And we'll continue to suffer until we make our fortune by meeting a sadhu. Then we can hear the super soul. Until then, the super soul speaking does not exist. That is why so in our scriptures and our statements, you hear sometimes, like Krishna himself is speaking, he's telling Narada Muni, my dear Narada Muni, if you go to Vaikuntha, you won't see me there. If you go to the heart of the yogis, you won't see me there. Why? In so many places in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, I am residing in the heart of the living entities. And then he is saying, if you go to the heart of the yogis, you won't see me there. What does it mean? Even among devotees who are hearing the philosophy, Krishna is the super soul. Krishna is the super soul. We are not this body. We are not this body. Krishna is the super soul. It's accompanying all of us. Is it true that all of us have realized that? Not yet. Some. Maybe few. But majority, no. So why Krishna is saying that if you go to the heart of the yogis, you won't see me. It's for this reason that we are blind. So we don't even feel that there is the Atma out of the super soul. We don't even feel it, that something like that does exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't make sense at all for a person in the mode of ignorance to think that there is something like a soul or super soul. That does not exist. Even if you preach it, it will not make sense. So in this way, Krishna is saying, even if you go to the heart of the yogis, you will not see me there. Krishna is there, but we will not see because no qualification to see. Only those who are fortunate will see. Hare Krishna. Any other question? What's our time? Comment, yeah, Maharaj. So, Maharaj is a powerful scholar, scripture. So he should be speaking and I should be hearing. But he's very humble, so I'm speaking. All right? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.